Welcome to the Rocky Road Podcast, brought to you by Rockbusters, with your host, Dennis Wager. Dennis is a best-selling author and an expert in demolition, rock, and concrete breaking, as well as a professional blaster. He is also president of Rockbusters Incorporated, along with his son, Brian. On the podcast, you'll hear exciting stories of how these challenge types of rock and concrete jobs are done. You learn about the uses of expanding grout and explosive devices. But furthermore, you'll hear about some of the hurdles and struggles entrepreneurs and business owners have had along the way, how they got started, and how they broke through the obstacles and found the path to success. Along with that, some insight for young people and people wanting to get into the industry. So listen in. I hope you enjoy the show. Now, here's Dennis Wager.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining in. I just want to welcome to the show today Dawn Chubai. She's a TV host, broadcaster with 23 years of experience, and also as a class on live selling on TV. Welcome to the show, Dawn.
Hey, thanks so much, Dennis, for having me here. What a great opportunity to be able to speak with you virtually and to everyone else that's listening and watching today.
Yeah, that's awesome. So maybe just start off with tell us a little bit about yourself and the great things you got going on.
Well, so thank you for the great intro. Yes, I've been in the broadcast industry for 23 years. For the majority of it, working in traditional broadcast, with a great portion of my career in morning television, hosting breakfast television, both in Vancouver and certainly in Toronto nationally as well. In Edmonton, Vancouver, Toronto, every place has its sort of unique community, but that morning TV space is a very privileged and sacred space. So, having the great deal of experience in that was amazing. But when my husband got a job out in Toronto, we moved out there and I went and got a job at the shopping channel, which turned out to be one of the most favorite things I've ever had, because you have that experience of connecting through a screen. But then you also have these incredible measurables, which are sales and the amount of research and brand research that you have to do. It became, a hard job, but a very rewarding job because of the actual measurables of making sales. And for me, to the tune of tens of millions of dollars for some of the top brands. And then, fast forward to now, where I am now a talent trainer. So I teach live selling talent to do kind of what I did in home shopping in this incredible emerging space of live stream shopping.
Wow, that's actually incredible. I'm really impressed. I actually admire you and learn a lot of stuff just from you. And I can see a lot of myself in what you just said. For me personally, it's, I've always kind of learned by doing it, just kind of throw your hat in the ring and then figure out how to go get it. And recently, just with starting this business, Rockbusters, it's been a lot of that. So it's kind of like, you know what you do and you know how to do it, but how do you get that message out to people, right? So then for me, I started making videos and such, and we, hired a videographer and started doing some really good videos. And at first it was just, not really knowing or not really even being comfortable talking into the camera, right? And then after you get used to it, this hey, wow, this is actually really cool. I can tell a story here. And it kind of, lands with people. So to take that from kind of where I'm at the beginner stages, I'd call it, to where you're at is really exciting.
Yeah, but Dennis, hearing you speak, and on camera and all of that, that's something that you really can only get better at by doing. And so, even prior to being a live selling talent trainer, all while I was in broadcast, I've also been training chefs and sommeliers and fitness professionals and CEOs to be comfortable on camera and to speak to people that you can't necessarily, see face to face. And so good for you for expanding your horizon in that, because to be able to connect virtually and on camera and on social media, it's a great way to not only expand your business opportunities, but your internal community. And it just makes you a more confident person. So camera confidence, good for you for doing that, because that's something that's so important for so many businesses and people in general as they progress in this space as media continues to evolve.
I totally agree. And I think that's so true. A lot of people kind of have that fear of it, right? But once you kind of get behind it, you can do so many things, and it's really surprising. I think for me, the biggest step was to go from having a one-on-one conversation where you can actually talk to a person to talking on stage or talking into a camera where you don't have a response back. So you're kind of not talking to yourself, but you kind of kind of are, right?
Yeah, there's no applause, right? Like as a singer also who would be on stage and I'd know I did a good job if people clapped or if they got a tear in their eye when I sang a Torch song,
Yeah.
or, a standing ovation, like that would be the ultimate. But you're right. When you are speaking, to sort of this ether, this sort of unknown, right?
Right.
You have to your only gauge is, okay, do you still have people watching or how many likes or comments? That's kind of the gauge that you have these days. But I think it's more important too to be, obviously you want to have lots of people watching and listening and having, how many views on our podcast and all of that. But ultimately, evolving your own skill set, I think you have to be willing to also internally applaud for yourself, because not everybody can do what you're doing, Dennis. Not everybody can do what I'm doing. And, certainly I can offer skills. I can help teach people just like you can now at this stage in your career as well. With 21, podcasts under your belt. But it's about doing it, right? And helping people sort of step out of their own comfort zone as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, what you said earlier about the measurables being the sales, that's ultimately what people strive for is, how do I make money off of whatever it is that I'm doing, right? So, everybody can not everybody can have a podcast or a TV show, but everybody wants to make money. So it's like, how do you monetize on your efforts, right? So I think that's the greatest way. If you make money off of whatever it is that you're marketing, that money can go back into doing more things, right? And the same with me, it's been like, I'm a blaster by trade, so I know how to blow things up. I know how to break rock. I've somehow in my career learned a lot of really cool techniques. We managed to make our own products and sell them worldwide. And I just got back from New York with a job down there for a house excavation in the rock in the Bronx. And the house is like sandwiched between three other houses. It's like the left behind lot that nobody wanted, the poor little lot that never got bought. And it's a long, skinny lot. It's only 20 feet wide. So how do you take the rock out? So I don't know why, but for some reason in New York, it seems to be nobody else that wants to take this on or has to know how to do these kind of jobs. So they're kind of excited to have me kind of take this on now.
Problem solution.
And now we're getting,
right?
It's a solution. Yeah. So now we're also getting calls from Oman over by Dubai and Virginia, lots of other states as well. So it's really exciting for me because I get to expand on what I know how to do with breaking rock and concrete and all that kind of stuff. But I also get to expand myself through writing the book that I have coming out. I've also co-authored a book and then also now the podcast. So I'm learning more myself, so I'm having a lot of fun actually with it.
Well, you start with your own expertise. And I think, even with what I'm doing in training live selling talent and people, all over the world that want to also make money with their talents and with products that they love, it's about authenticity. And I think, that's where you're probably finding your success as well, as you've taken your niche, you've taken what you do, and you're sort of helping other people, again, solve the problems that they have, that they don't necessarily themselves potentially want to go bust rocks and smash things,
right?
But they want the end result. And so in sales, and this, Dennis, and for anyone that says, well, I don't sell anything, we're all selling something. We're all selling something. Yeah, we're selling people, places, things, concepts, ideas. Every time you sit there and make dinner for your family, you're selling them on the idea that this is what they want, even though they didn't have any say, of course. But it's the ultimate selling the benefits. So for you, Dennis, in New York or wherever people are buying your products or utilizing your services, what is it they actually want? They want to be able to have a beautiful landscaping or have more space to go through or whatever it is. And same with me. You're selling the benefit. Okay, if we're selling a mop, yes, great. Yeah, we've all done a mop. No one really likes mopping. No one really likes cleaning. And if you do, you're welcome to come to my place. But we're selling clean floors. We're selling, what does that mean when you have clean floors or a clean bathroom or a renovated kitchen? It means you can entertain. It means you feel comfortable. It means you prefer to stay at home than spend money going out. And so now that benefit of the clean floors, hey, I saved you money. You buying this mop or you doing all the things that you do with respect to all the jobs that are so, can't necessarily be done by hand. You're selling an experience that people can have based on the service you provide. So at the end, them spending money with you is saving money in the long run, right?
It is. And it also enables them to do what they want to do, right? Like in this fella's case in New York, he wants to build a house. He's a developer. So he wants to build a house, and also he sees the advantage to buying lots that have rock because not nobody wants them, but the money that you pay is far less because everybody kind of avoids the lots with rock because they know the hassles that are involved with it, right? So if you can also all of a sudden show up with like, hey, this is something I can take care of, they're happy to see it, right?
Well, it's not, yeah. And so hearing you explain it like that too, because I'm thinking, gosh, how smart this person is to go, I'm going to buy the places that no one else wants. And not because it's about location, but because of the work that may be involved in getting it to the point where it's livable or where people can. And so then the smart thing is going, well, who can help me solve this problem? And then I'm sure that even when this person looks at what your fees are and the cost of getting the job done, then you kind of go, okay, well, what's the property value and all of that? And still probably got a great deal. But a lot of people can't wrap their head around how do I solve that problem? So what they do is they go, well, I'm just not going to do that. I'm just forget it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And exactly. And that's the mindset that drives the prices down, right? Which creates opportunity for the next guy. And we get a lot of that actually up in Whistler and stuff too. We do a lot of jobs where we'll take the rock out of basements of houses, and like West Van and Whistler are very, busy areas for us. And I think what happened is a lot of times in the past, when the house prices were in the hundreds of thousands, and not to date myself, but
I was just going to say, when was that?
Well, let's say cheaper.
I was going to say, can someone build a time machine, please?
Yeah, just go back a bit. Yeah. Anyway, when things were cheaper, they would just build over the rocks because it was too much money to take out the rocks, or they couldn't be bothered with it. So now you end up with all these houses that are kind of having, these useless rooms or areas in their basement that are just built over top of it, right? And now it's just like, okay, well, we can come in and we can actually like surgically remove the rock right to the foundation line. We can dig it down as deep as they want. We can take it all out. We have buggies, conveyors, roll-off bins to get rid of it all. And quite often we'll do like a whole entire house. We did one in Whistler recently, and we opened up like 2,000 square feet of living space in a house that, the average house in Whistler is $3.5 million. So for some work and maybe like a month and a half worth of time and noise and such, they got all that space to build into more living.
And and in a world, it's certainly in real estate, where you're looking at price per square foot, now you just, not on the overall listing can you say we increased our square footage, but the actual living space has increased. So now you're actually getting value out of the space you actually paid for. So
exactly. Yeah. And then that's a big point, right? Because not only do you're adding value, you're also adding square footage that you can use on your appraisals, where you can go to the bank and you can increase your mortgage based on, hey, I have all this extra square footage now because your appraisal has gone up.
Yeah, it's all about value. So, even with what I'm offering in training live selling talent, it's a return on investment. So, you work in a business where I'm sure you rely on certain level of influence, and whether there's influencers, many businesses, have influencer marketing programs or, affiliate programs. And so, we call this a return on investment. What are you paying that influencer to do? And sometimes, there was a trend of paying a significant amount for certain influence. And it might have been a picture, a product placement. Dawn's holding this cup now. We assume people are going to want the cup because Dawn's got the cup. But the reality is likes don't necessarily translate into dollars. And so, now with the opportunities with live stream shopping and certainly with technology, and whether it's a shopping platform where you can buy in show, or even doing an Instagram or Facebook Live where you got links that direct back to whatever platform, or website or whatever, there's more opportunities now for an influence to sort of be elevated with actual strategies that have been, sort of honed and started with home shopping. And so it's taking that influence, that authentic voice, which of course does draw people in, and having something that could be measurable for a brand that actually creates more value, not only for the brand that's hiring that influencer or that live stream shopping host. Could be a product launch. It could be 30 minutes of multiple products. It could be 10 minutes of one SKU. But now you've got something you can measure. And ultimately, as the person live selling, as the person talking to that, again, pinhole of hopefully millions of people ultimately, but it doesn't matter if it's one, to be able to have that kind of portrayal of what's the value for the customer. And so that's what you found, Dennis, as well, is, whatever it costs to get the services that you're offering, what's the value? Okay, let's go back to, again, the benefit, right? So now people in Whistler that have had the rocks removed, that at the time, everyone built around them, now the value is they get to enjoy the space that they have paid for, and in a measurable way for them, which means it's worth paying for it. And that's the same with it's just any product. It doesn't matter. There's a value proposition, and you have to understand that, right?
So what would you suggest for people wanting to hire an influencer? How would they go about it, or what kind of things would they look for?
Well, I mean, ultimately, you want somebody that is within kind of your niche, right? So, for somebody that, has a store, for instance, and, if you're a clothing store, well, your influencer, yes, it could be somebody who looks great in clothing and posts the outfit of the days and stuff, but I would say, why not look at somebody who is a fashion stylist? And the reason I say that is because, we're fashion expert. But the reason I say fashion stylist as an example is because when people are spending their precious time watching a live stream, just like when we watch television, right? We don't watch to be sold to. We watch for entertainment, engagement, news you can use. And so if you were a clothing store, what I would say is get a fashion stylist and do, whether it's a live stream or just your general social media, maybe it's video, like video commerce, right? Because ultimately the goal is to get people to click to buy or go to a website, is provide like hey, here are the top fashion trends that we saw on the runway, and here's how you can get that home. Or it could be the one item that you need to elevate your most basic look that's already in your closet. So now we've offered a value proposition to the fact that someone doesn't have to spend a lot of money, right? But they need that one thing. And so having that authority of a fashion expert or a stylist, right? Now we've got A, the credibility, B, hey, listen, someone might go, you know what? I have that kind of necklace in my closet, and I forgot that I had that in my jewelry box. And oh my gosh, I can get that look. And that person 100% is not spending any money. But one day they will. And because they were able to learn something from that channel, from the store that was willing to hire that fashion stylist as an influencer, and I did paying that influencer to host that kind of content, at the end, we're building a community as well, right? Like Dennis, right now I have no rocks to bust. I have nothing for you to compete with. I live in a high-rise building. But I tell you what, you're now on my purview, right? So when I sit there and I have somebody that has that issue, I don't need to look in I'll date myself here too, yellow pages. There's no need to do that.
The what?
What? But now I go, hey, you're going to call Rockbusters. Oh my gosh, of course you're going to do that. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the circle of influence that we're building. And so you're building a community. And even, with your podcast or with any videos that you're doing, there's something to be learned, right? There's always education opportunities, and that's how you build a community. That's how you amplify your authenticity. That's how you cultivate trust.
I totally agree. And that's what I try to do with some of the videos too, is just kind of explain how we do things and teach people. And, not everybody is interested, but a lot are. And it's like you said, it's, you don't need to, or you can't sell to everybody, but you just need to keep putting it out there. Any tips on people who are interested in growing their audience? How would you pitch that?
Well, I mean, again, authenticity is key. So the consistency of being who you are in whatever medium you're broadcasting in, whether it's live stream or video or still images, to be yourself 100%. Consistency as well in the posting is very important. So if you're sitting there and just posting, once a month, it's very difficult to build a following. Really allow your personality to shine through. Again, super easy, assuming you've got a personality to do it on video, right? And not to be afraid. So just like what you're doing, Dennis, I mean, you just do it. You just start doing it. So, in my live selling school and with my method that I teach, which again is very much based on what has been successful in TV home shopping, connecting through the screen to what you can't touch, taste, and try on. But for anyone that doesn't have those paid opportunities yet, which is the ultimate goal, to be a paid host, to be a paid live stream selling host and talent, is to just go live. So it could be, you're just doing, yes, you can do reels and videos and all of that, but to go live is completely different, as you know, Dennis, because you've got at some point to engage. You have to be comfortable speaking to what you hope are a lot of people, but understanding you might have nobody watching. And that cannot change. It cannot change how you portray yourself and the energy that you put out there. You have to just go live and get used to the idea of being consistent in your delivery, with the idea that you might have 1 million, you might have 10, you might have none, but you're going to still do it anyway. And the more you do it, the better you get. And then eventually you build that following, right? Like it's going to happen. Someone's going to, and it might not be the following that necessarily was initially your target audience, but that's how you again build that influence, right? And
I agree.
Right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of the same with the business too. Sometimes you just have an idea and a vision of how you expect the road to build, but it doesn't quite build exactly that way. It kind of has its own mind, so to speak, and you just have to kind of go with the flow and figure out what works. But I love that
business, right? Figuring it out, and find.
Exactly.
Sure, there is that problem that needs to be solved, right?
Exactly.
And it becomes the ultimate focus group. And I would say, doing what you're doing what I'm doing, what anyone out there is doing with their social media and trying to build their influence, you're also trying to figure out what is the best way to connect, right? Because there isn't always this sort of, foolproof formula. Everybody is different in how people react and connect to you. That's our job, is to reach them and with their many customer motivations, right? Because we could be talking right now to a variety of people with a variety of interests who are influenced in different ways. And so in our speaking and throughout a program or a show or broadcast or whatever we're doing, it's our job to sort of listen without actually having people screaming through a screen or whispering in our ear, but listening to our instincts about what might the objections or the barriers to purchase or the barriers to engage might be, and how can we reach all of them. And that comes with practice, but it also comes with an incredible amount of research and listening and engaging and trying and then seeing what sticks and then kind of continuing on that path, but never thinking that that's the end of the learnings. You have to always be listening.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the same with the conversation, and that's kind of where all of it happens, is in the listening of the other people or other person, just you can, and I do that like it's so much all the time with business too. Just kind of put myself in the other person's shoes and think, okay, well, find them. What do they want? And really, it's not about me. It's about what they want. And then how do I fit into what they want?
Yeah, I mean, and you're exactly right. I mean, to put yourself in your customer's shoes is really important. To remember that, for someone to spend any amount of money, it doesn't matter if it's $1, like that's the dollar that they worked really hard for. And so another piece of advice I would give is as you're doing your social media, as you're trying to influence in the various technologically sound available ways, is to not make an assumption that everybody hears the information in the same way. So I always, when I talk about selling product through a screen, in particular products that can't be touched, tasted, or tried on, which typically when you go into a store, like you'd be able to go, well, that sweater feels really great against my skin because I tried it on. But when you're selling through a screen or just general influence, I mean, even if you took live stream shopping out of it, when there is a picture posted and someone goes, this is the sweater I wore, I love it, you should buy it. Okay, you might get 1 million likes, but that's not 1 million sales. And so, because for me, I think to myself, well, yeah, it does look nice, but how soft is it? Well, she said it's really soft. Well, Dawn's version of soft and Dennis's version of soft could be very, very different. So we have to make it in a way that cannot be disputed. So, what does it feel like? Well, the feeling, have you ever, petted a Labrador Retriever puppy? I don't know, have you ever kind of touched their ears and stuff? That's how soft that sweater is. That's how soft.
Oh, gotcha.
So now there's no disputing.
Relate to that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Now, you either
Gotcha.
want that or you don't want that, but now at least you know what it is. And so when you're purchasing it, you have that level of trust, because I think it was Accenture that did a study and talked about one of the greatest barriers toward purchasing online, just general e-commerce, and it's trust. It's trust in maybe the brand, and it's also trust that you're going to get what you believe you're going to get, which is why live stream shopping can convert upwards of 30% more to regular e-commerce, because you have that host that is that trusted advocate, that is that conduit
Right.
toward the purchase. And also, incidentally, returns are reduced because, again, everyone's kind of getting what they believe they are. And listen, brands, and you know this too,
Okay.
expect for returns to happen. But anything that you can do to reduce that. So we talk about investment. You might never thought you needed to pay somebody to host a show like that or to do an influence in that way. But if you can reduce returns and increase sales, that's a return on investment, right?
Exactly. It's all about the sales, right? I mean, the sales, makes money come in the door, which you got money to play with, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm really actually excited to learn more about your live stream selling, because I see it as a way, it's kind of like the next level up from e-commerce. It's like everybody's very, familiar with SEO work and how to build a website and sell online and so on and so on. But yours is like the next level. And I'm personally interested in learning that myself, because I think it's really cool.
Well, and I see, having learned more now about your business, and you and I connected very early when I started live selling school, Dennis. So it always takes time sometimes to marinate, like how can what I do translate into the various businesses? And I 100% believe that there is a space for live selling, live stream, video commerce, social commerce in absolutely any industry. So for you, Dennis, just as and for anybody out there, think of content, right? Again, what can we do? And then ultimately that drives traffic to your website, your e-commerce, and then hopefully makes sales. But at the end of it, you have to have that entertainment. You have to have that authenticity. You have to have that storytelling. You have to have that engagement. So, listen, HGTV, right? I mean, there are shows all the time about renovations and excavations and all sorts of things. You can do your own YouTube series of actual content, taking a project, editing it down, and then here we go. Here's how you can work with us, or you can do this yourself using these products. And bam, you can do that. So think content marketing first, and then work your way through to what hopefully is that pathway to purchase.
Yeah, that's awesome. I also watch a lot of the reality TV shows like Gold Rush and those kind of shows too. And it's funny. It's like, obviously, kind of semi-real but fictional too, or made up, but it's engaging, right? And like there's so many people that watch it.
Well, and I would say too, Dennis, to that point as well, think about too, who is going to front that kind of content for you. So you're obviously very media friendly and well-versed, but you might want to focus more on the information, and you might want to have somebody that is able to stick handle sort of the housekeeping of the sale, because there's a value in that as well. And so, when you sort of decide what is it that you want to do, you in particular, but anybody out there watching, do you have somebody else to stick handle the business that is a trained live seller, a trained live selling talent, so that you can be what you are, which is the expert.
I do what I do. Yeah.
But it could also be that you could do both. So there's place for everybody, and it's just really about kind of working through that strategy. That's something certainly I can help with if anyone ever wants to. But just think about it yourself, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because I think for me, what's kind of in my mind is just like it's like a big geographic area, but it's kind of like smaller. It's not the needle in a haystack scenario exactly, but they're a bit fewer and farther between. It's not like selling T-shirts and socks, right? But it's how do you reach all those people in an engaging way that anybody would have fun watching it, and the ones that are interested and do need our help or services would connect. But anyways, we're kind of getting near the end, and I just was going to ask you just one last question. Was if you have any advice for any young people wanting to get into the business?
Well, I would say if you want to get into the business, definitely look at deepening what you consider an influencer to be. So when I say business, my assumption is that someone is an influencer, an ambassador, but it could also be someone who works in sales for whatever business they're doing. And so in my mindset, it's what's going to set you apart, right? So if you work at a beauty counter at the mall, yeah, you're probably a great salesperson, but what can you do to set yourself apart to your colleagues, from your colleagues? It's being innovative, it's deepening your skills and understanding that there is always room to improve. I think I had read once where Barbara Streisand had, even in her great fame, was still taking the odd singing lesson. I'm sure that there are bodybuilders that still once in a while book a personal trainer just to shake things up and bring about different inspiration. And so to me, you're never a finished product. And in this world where we're constantly seeing the technology evolve, being ready, anticipating the opportunities, and to really progress your own career at your pace so that you're ready to offer those additional services, that additional influence. So if you're an influencer, learn to live sell. For me, hopefully I can help you in that way. That's what my expertise is. But just even in yourself, just start to think about how can you deepen the way you connect with your followers who hopefully, when a brand hires you to work with them, turn into customers for that brand.
That's awesome. I really appreciate that. And it was great having you on the show. I just want to say thanks very much for being here. That was great.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you would like to be a guest on a future episode and tell us your story, visit our website at www.rockbusters.com. If you have a project and would like to learn more about our products, or if you're interested in partnering with us and becoming a distributor, give us a call. Thanks again. We appreciate your support.